I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but gosh, I really was not feeling this new Lightyear film. Trust me, as a die-hard Toy Story fan since I was old enough to talk, I really wanted to like this movie. But it was filled with so much nothingness and completely failed to hit the mark it was going for that I left the film feeling unsatisfied and disappointed with this dull experience. For starters though, I'll say that the concept of this movie was pretty well defined. The screenwriters did their homework on Buzz Lightyear the toy and all the lore the Toy Story movies had to offer about Buzz, and made the character and the world in this movie feel like a genuine embodiment of all of that. Buzz had many lines in this movie that were straight up copy and pasted from the Toy Story script, but in a way that worked in the context of the movie. At the beginning of the movie, we get a few explanations for why Buzz in Toy Story, who mind you believes he is the character in this movie, does the things that he does. Like, I totally believe this is a movie that Andy watched, and I totally believe that the toy was based on this movie. It certainly doesn't feel like a 90s film, but that's whatever. The problem this movie has is that it just doesn't go beyond what Toy Story gave them. A bunch of stuff that certainly has a lot of potential, like Zurg's character, this group of misfits that Buzz has to deal with, and even something as basic as the main plot of this film just doesn't go anywhere. We get no closure or even a further explanation of any of it. And the thing that's most annoying about all of this is that the film implies that the plot not going anywhere was the point of the movie because of a certain thing that Buzz learned in the movie, but gosh, it was not nearly executed as well as it could have been to pull off an ending like that. But if I want to elaborate and get specific, I gotta go into spoilers. So if you haven't seen Lightyear, get ready to jump to light speed past the spoiler section. Spoilers beginning now. So once Buzz gets back to the planet after 22 years, he bumps into these bozos who want to help him get the colony back to their home. We never get a proper understanding of why these characters are? Where is everyone else? Why aren't they fighting back against the Zurg bots? Why do these characters want to help Buzz if the rest of the colony probably hates him because he disobeyed orders to go on that final mission? And I feel like the lack of explanation of all this made this all feel pretty boring, especially since it was established that Zurg is here on the planet, and I was just wanting to see what was going on with that. And then we get to Zurg. Zurg was straight up the most disappointing thing this entire movie has to offer, which is such a shame because I was really looking forward to seeing what they did with his character. We quickly find out that it's true. Zurg is Buzz's father. Wait, no, actually he is him, 50 years older. But we never really get an explanation as to why it is him. Like, sure, we know that old Buzz was trying to time travel back so he could undo his mistake at the beginning of the film, but we never really find out why he's got this giant spaceship and a bunch of robots and like basically rebranded his identity to Zurg. This movie gives us the tiniest, most ambiguous explanation for this. Like, oh, old Buzz went to the future and found all this new technology, and then old Buzz literally says that the robots pronounce Buzz as Buzzurg, so he calls himself Zurg. That's the extent of Zurg's backstory in this movie, which is such an incredibly insulting, disappointing, and boring way to explain Zurg, the villain I've been terrified of since I was a little kid. For a moment, I thought that the commander dude who tried to stop Lightyear as he was trying to go to space for the millionth time turned into Zurg. Like, he began to stretch his power at the expense of everyone else during the time Buzz was gone, which honestly would have made Zurg a lot more menacing, scary, and interesting than just making him a future version of Buzz with no other explanation than that. Like, if Zurg is Buzz but old, then why didn't he wait where Buzz was going to crash land? He knows where and when and how that is going to happen. Also, why in the hell is he trying to attack him without revealing who he is? At this point in the movie, Buzz is on Zurg's side of wanting to go back in time to reverse the mess up at the beginning of the movie. Why are you attacking him? Also, if Old Socks was gonna betray Zurg, why did he wait until now to do it? Straight up, Socks betraying Zurg and saving Buzz had some mega I'm the spy vibes, and I'm not here for that. He quite clearly was an ex machina considering he died like 2 minutes later, and it doesn't matter because the new Socks is still alive. There's just so much that we're left in the dark on, and so much that they quite clearly didn't think all the way through with this movie. We can't even get a proper explanation of the villain or any of the characters, so surely the plot has to be the saving grace of it all, right? Please say right. By the end of the movie, Buzz realizes that the planet they have colonized and the lives the people have here is the new life that everyone should keep. So he doesn't go through with bringing everyone back to their homes like he promised he was going to do for the past 100 years. Which, fine, I'm cool with him coming to that realization, but the way the movie structured this twist was so unplanned and awful, to the point where it's really hard to believe that Buzz believes in this sentiment, which in turn makes the entire film unsatisfying. The only way he really learned this lesson is by seeing what he had become come when he finds out that Zurg is himself and he's willing to alter the timeline to prevent all these people from existing in order to make himself look better. But beyond that, there's no way he really learns this. The movie makes it pretty clear that new Buzz would not be thinking any of this if it weren't for the timeline being altered and him meeting Izzy and the gang. But the thing is, this dude literally had one conversation with Izzy where she was just like, oh, my grandma was important to me, so don't say that her not being a space ranger is a bad thing. She had a life beyond that. And I guess that was more than enough for him to completely change his point of view on all of this. I feel like I'm going crazy. There was no moment of realization for Buzz. But all of a sudden, just cause some girl that didn't even exist 2 years ago his time talked about how Alicia had a great life beyond her space ranger years, he's got a new fantastic point of view. Well, bravo. Give it up for based Buzz. There might be a few sprinkles of Buzz learning that he needs to go easier on the side characters when they mess up, because everyone messes up, but I really don't see how that clearly coincides with abandoning the mission he's attempted for 100 years. Especially when he finally succeeded at stabilizing the hypercrystal. It certainly didn't feel like the movie was leading up to this realization scene by scene like it does for other Pixar movies like Soul. Soul does everything in its power to show Joe that his dream of being a musician is not going to solve all of his life problems, so he needs to let go and start enjoying life. Sure, maybe most of the learning is concentrated in this one scene where everything comes together, but it was built up throughout the movie by showing 22 how to live. That's why the conclusion of that film felt satisfying despite the fact that he never achieved his dream. Compare that to this movie where there is one insanely unimpactful moment of realization and that's basically it. The climax of this film is turned into defeating Zurg, even though Zurg from the start was set up as more of an obstacle in Buzz's way rather than the main plot. And once they defeated him, that was the end of the movie. Like, at least in Soul, there was an alternate climax where Joe had to show 22 that she did have a purpose to resolve something that he hurt as a result of trying to achieve his dream. Lightyear doesn't have that, so once they kill Zurg and the movie ends, it feels like there's something missing. And since it's honestly very hard to believe that Buzz learned the lesson that the movie really wants you to believe that he learned, it feels almost completely pointless to end the movie in such an unsatisfying way like this. And look, I get it's not fair to compare this movie to a masterpiece like Soul, but I'm not comparing the two movies. I'm comparing how each movie structured their twist endings. Heck, I can even use this comparison with Cars. There were multiple parts in Cars that not only hammered in the message the film was going for, but also genuinely changed McQueen's character from being a smug race car who only wants to win the race, to being a kind and respectful friend to everyone, even if it means giving up the Piston Cup. And I'm sure this is all probably linked to how bizarre Buzz's execution to his goal was in the first place. Wanting to be a musician and wanting to win a race are two pretty normal things to pursue, but wanting to keep going back to the freaking ship to make the jump to light speed, even if it means wasting 4 years every single time in the process, is just insane. Like, there's no let's go back to the drawing board for a day or two to figure out where I'm messing up. He just keeps going back in, doing the same thing and expecting different results. The literal definition of insanity. So yep, overall this movie was dull, unsatisfying, and not nearly as deep within the world of Buzz Lightyear as I wanted it to be. It fails miserably at trying to do a twist ending structured in a satisfying way and fails to expand upon anything Toy Story gave it. I'm giving this film a 4 out of 10. Yep, that's right, it's a negative review. The best I can say is that it's better than Brave, but not as good as The Good Dinosaur, which means it ranks at number 23 on my Pixar ranked list. Trust me guys, I really wanted to like this movie, but it really misses the mark on like everything. I hope I didn't make too many enemies with this review. If you like the movie, then hey, I'm glad for you. You can still enjoy it. You can also hit the subscribe button for more high quality content. Okay, on a real note, I'm super close to 1,000 subscribers, so it would be a dream come true if you subbed. But until then, I'll see ya in Radiator Springs.